So here we have got another question. So this question is a question that is regarding sentiments towards the League of Nations. So as an advanced level student, you must also know about this question. So in this case, the question reads, its links with the Versailles Treaty was its greatest weakness. It is now a quote, are we together? Which is saying that the fact that the League was related to the Versailles Treaty is one of its major weakness which led to its downfall. Are we together? So now our major term is its link with the Versailles was its great weakness, and how valid is this view in this view in the 1920s and into the 1930s. So we are revealing to the issues of the League of Nations. Are we together? So the question continued to read, its links with the Versailles Treaty was its greatest weakness. How valid is this view of the League in the 1920s and in the 1930s? So candidates, write the question. Question interpretation. Our question interpretation reads, candidates candidates are allowed or are expected candidates are allowed or are expected to reveal that the weaknesses of the League of Nations, the weaknesses of the League of Nations, the weaknesses of the League of Nations were constructed from its link with the Versailles Treaty. Were constructed from its link with the Versailles Treaty. How? Someone might ask, how are we going to say the Versailles Treaty was linked with the League of Nations? According to Woodrow Wilson, 14 points, the 14th point was stating that there must be an organization which represent all states, either small or big or whatsoever. There must be an organization which represent all nations all over the world. So that's how the Versailles Treaty is linked to the League of Nations. How to get? So on the other hand, good candidates on the other hand, good candidates are expected to explore other weaknesses of the League of Nations. So now we are saying candidates might explore other weaknesses that were associated with the League of Nations. Right. So in this case now, guys, what are we going to do? I've explored the point, so I'm going to explain just a few points for you to understand. Right here, these are now points which reveal that the weaknesses of the League of Nations are constructed from the fact that it was linked to the Versailles Treaty. First and foremost, with this point, it is saying the treaty was regarded as harsh. Are we together? The Treaty of Versailles was regarded as a harsh treaty. And now we are observing that the very same treaty which is regarded as a harsh treaty is linked to the Versailles Treaty, which is to the League of Nations, whereby all nations are getting together and they are trying to construct a peace treaty or a peace document or peace organization. So in this case, one is going to say your point. In your point, you are going to say it's linked with the fact that the League of Nations was linked to the Versailles Treaty was one of its greatest key weaknesses. Point. In your explanation, we are going to explain that is because the Treaty of Versailles was regarded as a harsh treaty, as a vindictive treaty. Why it is being regarded as a vindictive treaty? They have allowed or they have mandated Germany to pay about 6.6 million euro as a form of reparation. And this type of reparation was not constructive or was not favorable to Germany because its economy was not going to balance as they were going to pay such a huge amount. Are we together? So it now this made Germany to hate this treaty. to an extent that it have even constructed the coming of the Second World War by the development of totalitarian members like Hitler, because he was saying we cannot pay the reparations because they are too high for us. Are we together? So this I was now giving explanations and whatsoever. Right. Then when we are talking about the failure to apply the principle of self-determination, when the Versailles Treaty was passed, Germany we can observe that in Germany, the British troops and the French troops, they were always guiding or they were always making barricades around Germany. And as a way to force Germany to pay the reparation and to agree the war guilty clause. So it means that now Germany and all defeated powers, they were not going to be given self-determination, that is privacy and integrity. Why? Because they were already encircled by the troops of foreign nations. So now, when the League of Nations was passed, or when the League of Nations was formulated linked to the Versailles Treaty, people, the Germans, the Austrians, and whatsoever, they all have the same mind. So they wanted to have a revenge whereby they were not given their right to explore their self-determination after the First World War. And as a result, it also have constructed to the manifestation of the Second World War and other issues. Then it failed to revise the treaty. Are we together? The League of Nations, as an organ which was representing all nations all in the world, they must have revised, are we together? The Versailles Treaty, because 6.6 million euro, it was too much for Germany to pay, because all in Germany, or not in Germany, in Europe, all countries they have suffered the same due to the outbreak of the First World War. Are we together? So now they must have revised the treaty, maybe to 1 million or whatsoever. They thought that the League of Nations as an organ which was representing all nations, since Germans were complaining that they were now suffering from economic quagmire due to the payment of reparations, they were going to help it. They were going to revise the amount. Are we together? Then after that, we also have disarmament was selectively applied to Germany. The disarmament was selectively applied to Germany only. But as we can see, Britain was part and parcel of the First World War. France was in part and parcel of the First World War. But when the disarmament commission was instituting its rules and regulations, only Germany suffered. Britain was keeping on constructing more weapons. Britain was France, they were all constructing their navies, their armies at the expense of Germany. So to Germany, the League of Nations was nothing more than a formality. It was not something formal to be applied upon them. Why? Because it was one-sided. That's when we are saying Germany was not a member of the league, so it was viewed as a club of victors. Because Germany at first was not allowed to join, Russia was not allowed to join. They joined in maybe 1923. Are we together? So if it was an organ which was going to represent all nations alike, why these defeated powers are not allowed to join? So they termed the League of Nations as a club of victors. So they take it for granted, leading to its collapse. Are we together? This is how I'm going to explain. Then in terms of other factors, we are going to say, despite the fact that the league was linked to the Versailles Treaty, there were other factors which contributed to its decline or to its weaknesses or to its collapse. For example, absence of great powers like USA, which could have to do something to maintain peace and to maintain, to avoid actions like withdrawal of other members from the league. Are we together? So these are some of the points we're going to use.